everyone, and welcome to Perfect Search's training on user experience best practices and how they are tied to increasing and improving your conversion rate. To begin, what is conversion rate optimization, otherwise known as CRO? Conversion rate optimization is essentially the process of ensuring that your website as well as specific web pages are set up in a way to help guide users through those pages to ensure they are converting at crucial touch points. This includes anything from the content, the images, if there's any interactive media, the calls to action on a page. So if you're a school, your apply now buttons, or if you're an e-commerce website, making it as easy as possible for customers to add products to the cart and check out. So making sure that all of those elements are displayed in a way where a user finds it both compelling and very easy to convert on the website. So now that we've talked about CRO, what does that have to do with user experience, also called UX? In short, conversions are a much more realistic possibility when a user has a positive interactive experience on a website. And this is why they really go hand in hand. So if a user experiences really great design aesthetics, or if the site is very clear and understandable, they're more likely to convert. And when your site is useful, easy to use, and visually appealing, you'll also improve that customer satisfaction and loyalty, that they'll probably be a repeat customer or continue working with you. So now that we have some of the basics down, we do also have a concrete checklist of best practices to look out for when designing your website with user experience in mind. So the first is the page hierarchy. You want to make sure that when a user lands on any web page on your site, they have a clear visual hierarchy and they know where to look and what they are offering immediately. In terms of the navigation, so how a user continues throughout the site, you want to make sure it's simple, intuitive, easy to use. And of course, you want to make sure each page is visually appealing through the use of engaging images, colors that make sense together to overall make it a aesthetically sound web page. And on this example on the right, you can see the Perfect Search homepage with the top navigation being fairly simple but intuitive. If a user hovers over these, there are drop downs that clearly show a specific service that they can look into. Or if they hover over About, they can head to our company history or our core values pages. As for the colors on the homepage, they have a very bright blue, with the contrasting calls to action being a very bright coral color, so they hit the user right when they land on it, and they're likely going to click on that Contact Us button since it is so prominent. Next, we have the actual content of the website. You want to make sure that you're not using highly specific technical jargon. You want the content on each page to be understandable to any reader, regardless of if they're knowledgeable in your website's space or industry. So you want to make sure that the copy itself is understandable for every type of person. Secondly, for calls to action, you want to make sure all CTAs, on top of being very noticeable in the color, that they are benefit-oriented and paired with a sense of urgency. You want to make sure that the user understands what they're going to be clicking on and likely knows the type of page that they'll be landing on next if they click it. So you want to make sure that you have enough information in that call to action to entice them to click. The sense of urgency also helps if you are an e-commerce website and you have a sale that's going on for a few hours. You can also note that in the CTA. Senses of urgency almost always help in increasing those conversion rates. More specifically, avoid click here or learn more if you can. In general, using terms such as click here can be seen as spammy. Also in the eyes of Google, if the calls to action say click here, they might believe that you are a spammy website, since that is such a generic and general language that a lot of spammy websites do use. You do want to avoid click here. As for learn more, that isn't necessarily spammy, but it is very broad and doesn't give users a good understanding of what a link's purpose is and where they'll be leaded to. And also you want to make your calls to action specific to your own brand voice, any value propositions, and the page itself. So on the right-hand side at the top there, we have Spotify, and their call to action is very specific to their brand, get premium. If this was said on another website, users probably wouldn't know what that means, but because they are constantly pushing their premium service, this is very tailored to what they offer. And then below that, we have an example of a different type of call to action. This is not a button per se, but it is an anchor text call to action that is strategically placed in the middle of or throughout longer form pieces of content, whether it's a blog post or an article. As users reading, you can include a call to action that might be relevant to the piece that they're reading. If you offer a service that is similar to what you're writing about, or a white paper in this instance, you can include a link there for them to download it straight from that page. Next, we want to talk about site speed. You want to ensure that pages are not noticeably sluggish on both mobile and desktop. Mobile site speed is now officially a ranking factor, so if your site is slower, your rankings in Google might be penalized. There's two ways to look into your current site speed, the current state of affairs of your website. The first being Google's Page Speed Insights. This is a really handy tool that Google offers for free. You don't have to be signed into anything to use it. You can type in any web page and they will report back with a score out of 100 for both mobile performance and desktop performance. And they will also provide very specific recommendations of what elements on each web page to optimize in order to increase the score and speed it up. Again, this is a page-by-page basis test. So on this example on the right, you can see Nike, their homepage, their mobile score is a 19, but a specific shoe page or a workout top page might be faster or slower. So it is important to look at more than just the homepage, since it's going to be different case by case. The second tool to use is webpagetest.org. This site allows you to test the approximate site speed of your web page anywhere in the world and test it from any type of device. So you could, for example, see what your site speed looks like in Virginia if you are on a Chrome laptop. Or you could see what it looks like in Hawaii if you're on an iPhone 8. And it will give you the relative score or speed it takes to load that page entirely. It will also give you a breakdown of the resources that are slowing it down and taking the longest as well. So these are two great tools that we use to benchmark a current site's speed. Next, you want to make sure headlines are present. So first you want to make sure that you have them. And secondly, that they're meaningful. You want to grab the user's attention right away, keep them on your web page, and one of the most important ways to do that is headlines. Secondly, evidentials. You want to make sure those are present, especially on home pages. So what are evidentials? That could be statistics of your service or product, publications that your site has been included on, any accolades or awards. This really helps to build trust among the company, and also the potential customer will have more trust in you if they see that you've been featured on the New York Times or you've been given an award by Inc. Best Workplaces. So on the right-hand side here, you can see at the top, Buffy on their homepage, they include some sound bites from articles that they've been included on. So BuzzFeed had mentioned, had my first great night of rest in weeks. BuzzFeed is a very reliable source, and users would probably see this and know that they can trust that this is going to be a great comforter. Below that, this is also pulled from Perfect Search's homepage. We have a sampling of some of the awards that we've won to give potential new clients more trust that the work we're doing is sound. Now this last section, firstly, we want to talk about internal links. So again, internal links are anytime you click on a link and it takes you elsewhere in your own website. You want to make sure that these do not open in new tabs, just to make it as clean as a user experience. If a user clicks on multiple internal links, they're not having a bunch of new pages open up and slowing down their process. Secondly, external links. So any links on your web page that if you click it leads to a separate domain or website, you want to make sure that these do open in new tabs. So if a user clicks on a link to, again, say the New York Times from your website, you want to make sure it opens in a new tab so that if it did open in the same tab, they would not be leaving your website permanently and then instead only hanging out on the New York Times website. And lastly, this is a specific design feature that is a no-no, is hijack scrolling. You want to ensure that no pages on your website hijack scroll. What is that? Essentially, some developers will manipulate the scroll bar to behave in a different way than normal. So if a user lands on your website, they can assume that if they scroll down, it'll scroll at the same speed in the same way. But some developers will change this. So for example, if you were driving in a car and you rolled your window down, that would instead make the car honk. This provides a very poor user experience, and users tend to become frustrated if hijack scrolling is occurring, which will make them leave the site most likely. So that takes us through our review of user experience best practices, what UX is, and how it is tied into conversion rate optimization. Hope this helped. Thank you.